Good afternoon, Gold members. Thank you very much for coming on today's call. Today I'm going to go over our VIP buyer presentation. And I know a lot of you, especially out in the West Coast, I know you're more in the seller's market, and a lot of you are really focusing on getting those seller leads. But here in the East Coast and also in different parts of the country, it's still a very balanced market. So working with buyers is a great pillar and definitely something that we've been very effective on over the years. And had a couple agents and also a couple coaching members reach out to me and say that they wanted to get information on my buyer presentation and if I could do a call on it. So I do listen, and every time we have a webinar, I always ask for your feedback and for you to give me information on what you guys like to see on future calls, and I really appreciate that. So today I'm going to go over the buyer presentation and give you some ideas on what's working for us now here at Miranda Real Estate Group. But before I go into that, I'm just going to jump into the into my Facebook account here real quick, and just to kind of give you an idea of what's really working. You know, going to the last Anaheim conference, I met with a lot of agents, talking to them on what's working for them and what's not working as effectively for them. And follow-up is still key, right? Picking up that phone and making that phone call is still king, and it dominates any other marketing program that you're doing out there. But again, you know, you have your follow-up plans, your email drip campaigns, that type of stuff. That's very important. And one of the things that I introduced to you guys a while back, and I'll keep talking about it as long as it keeps working for us, is video marketing and educational videos that you send out to your list, all the people in your COI. You can even send out those videos out to people in your community, and it's a great way for leveraging and marketing yourself to anyone in your area. So I'm going to actually give you a couple ideas on that today, and just kind of point out, and any of you can go on here, go to Miranda Real Estate Group and like our page there, and you can get all information and some examples of what we got going on here. But this was a post that I did on our blog, and if you see here, I put some information on there about our inventory being low here in the Capital District and the demand is high, and I talked to them about a scenario. And one of the ways that you could be very effective with follow-up is by using video. And we try to send out 2 videos a month. So if you just follow me on this for a minute, that's 24 videos a year. 12 of those videos, you want it to be on market value, market updates, and what's going on in the market. And then the other videos, you want to be, we do 6 for buyers and 6 for sellers. And sometimes we'll do a combination of the two. But the whole purpose behind it is that we want to establish that know, like, and trust factor with our prospects that are out there and also with our clients, and we want to remain top of mind. And let's face it, you know, we just can't connect with everyone, right? A lot of people hide behind their phones. They're busy. There's only so much time in a 2-hour, 3-hour time frame that you might have allocated for calls to be able to get to a large vast of people in your database. So by keeping in touch with them with video, it's proven to be very effective. And we've been using it, and we've been seeing a lot of touch points, but also a lot of communication back and forth with some of our clients, having them driving them back to our website for additional information. So this was an example that I use off a multiple offer situation. We're getting a lot of multiple offer situations here in upstate New York, and actually had a phone call with a buyer that was upset because when we went back to him to ask for that buyer to give us their best and final offer because they were in a multiple offer, they thought they still play the game of, you know, still giving us a lower offer than what they were willing to go to. So the long and short of it, we ended up getting both offers. My seller took the best offer for them based on price, terms, qualifications, and we went with that offer. Well, the next day I got a call from a buyer that was upset because they didn't get the offer, and they wanted to actually offer an additional $5,000 onto the contract. And you know, we didn't go that route. My seller was pretty adamant about sticking with the person that they chose, and that was a good choice, because I think if some of you on this call have been in situations like this before, if you keep playing the game, going back and forth, or you tell a buyer, yeah, it's yours, we shake hands, and then all of a sudden, you know, you call them the next day and say, hey, we're going to take another offer unless you can match it, you have a good chance of losing all the buyers. Because sometimes that second one may feel like they overpaid and might get that buyer remorse. The first one gets upset because you didn't keep your word, and then you're back on market a week later. So multiple offers are very important. So if you want to check out this video, go to Miranda Real Estate Group on Facebook, and you can go ahead and click on there. And I want to give you an idea of what I did with it. I actually boosted this this video, so I want to really focus in my community. And I'll click on here to view posts, view results. And what I did is I set up a $100 budget. You could set up a $10 budget, $20 budget, do whatever you want. I actually did a $100 budget. And with that, I got 2,647 video views, which is awesome. And you know, that's what I want. I want people watching the video. I want people calling us, going to our website, and taking a look at, you know, what we have to offer. And I focused that around age 30 to 63. Just did it for one day, male and female, in a location. I kept to a couple cities and towns around where I work, and wanted to get it out to them. And that, like I said, got 2647 video views. Paid reach was about 6,800. And basically what you're doing here is by boosting this, and if you have a fan page, you can do this yourself. You can boost it, target areas, neighborhoods, whole towns if you would, by going on Facebook and using the boost function, which will be here on the right-hand side after you post the actual posting on the Facebook. And we get a lot of views on it. Actually, I was just in a diner today having lunch down the street here with one of my agents, and when I came out, was checking out, the guy said, "Hey, great video. You're actually doing them in your car now. How does that work?" And he was kind of, you know, busting my stones. Same diner that I go to for years. But this is an actual video that I took with a GoPro on the dashboard, and just talking like you're talking to a friend. So check it out. Let me know what you thought, what your thoughts are on it. Give me a comment, like it, do whatever you want. Thumbs up, thumbs down, but love to give your feedback on that. And it's very easy to do, very easy to do. And if you look at this post, if you click on the actual link here, it actually goes to my blog. So this is the actual blog that I did. Again, trying to get them to come here. Click on these two links is the call to action in the blog, and it's sending it right to you know, our website. So we ended up getting on this one. We just set this up last week. So far, just checking with my inside salesperson, I had about 12 people that came through requesting information on a CMA or for information on homes by doing that. So it's a pretty good, you know, $100 investment, and something that I would definitely have you do and recommend highly if you're looking to really penetrate a little bit, not only your book of business, but also in the community that you work. All right, so that's one post there, and let's see what else I have for you. We have some different listings that we post as time goes on, you know, throughout the week. This isn't my staff putting that on there for professional administrative professional day, actually having them and giving them lunch and giving them a couple gifts there. But this here, Capital Region Home Soar Sales Soar, and this is just in the local Times Union, which is our largest newspaper here in the area, actually posted our sign up here, which was great, on the real estate section, on the online version, and also in the actual physical paper. And for some of you that have been on some of my how to get free PR, right, and by getting you know, either on the news or on the radio or in the newspaper, for some of you that have seen some of my webinars on that, this is basically just information that we keep feeding to local reporters and different people in the different media channels, and they use our stuff. So again, it's just a quick email giving them information on what's going on in the real estate market. With this, I actually got an interview also with our local news station. They came here on Tuesday at 10 o'clock and just did a quick, you know, 20-minute update on the market and what's going on. And that hits the whole region here, upstate New York. So it goes from here to Buffalo down to Jamestown, New York, which is about, geez, if I had to guess, probably 600 to 800 mile radius that we actually pick up on that station. So, and again, all came from an email starting off, sending out to reporters and letting them know what's going on in the area. What else here do we have? One more thing I wanted to show you. Oh, this is an open house, not an open house, but an actual property that I listed. And if you see on here, buy this home and we will buy it for cash. That's our USP. Conditions apply. Call Willie Miranda, and I got my cell phone number on there. But I also have find out what your Clifton Home Park is really worth, and they click on that link to get more information. This one we picked up about 15 CMAs that we got off this. That was awesome. And when they clicked on the house to find out more information, they were driven over to our Commission Inc. landing page. which I don't know why this is coming up. Let me see if I can get this off. I don't know why that's coming up now, but see if I can get out of this here. Go back to that. It's smart. It wants me to go ahead and fill out information on here, but it'll just give them information on the actual property itself. I'm just going ahead and just putting something in there real quick for you. Continue search. Oh, geez, this is pretty smart, huh? It wants my full name now. Sorry, here we go. I'm going with it. Live TV here. All right. I don't know what to tell you, but regardless, you can go on to that, take a look at it, but it gives information on the property and actually walks them through the virtual tour that's on there. So it works out very well. It's just because I came on here before, that's why that message came up. But again, it gives them great information. I did a $30 post, I believe, on this one. Oh, $20. I spent 20 bucks is what I spent. I had 42.75 reach, 363 on the action, and 359 links, link clicks that were on here. So as you can see, I mean, again, pretty much the same area, 20 bucks, cheap way to advertise this listing. I had, like I said, over 15 different responses for CMAs. They can also go to 12065homevalue.com. That's going to drive them to my free quick overnet home evaluation page. So I catch them there, and I also catch them looking on here and actually looking at the virtual tour of this home. When they click on see more, that's where the some conditions apply pops up with the guarantee offer up here. So very effective, $20 post. Took me about 10 minutes to go ahead and do that. And as a result of that, we're getting a lot of action and a lot of people requesting for CMA posts. So and again, we do best bidder. We'll do another call on that as well. The best bidder, where we actually take down the actual list price. This house has been on the market for well over a year and a half. We did this round robin on 423 and 424 between 1 and 3. And this is just a video from one of our top agents, Melissa Patalis. She got that thing sold, had about 5 offers on it, and we got it sold. So a lot of great stuff. Facebook is awesome and definitely is going to give you the action and the views that you guys want to get. And I just wanted to point that out to you so that kind of give you a little idea on what we're doing. But let me jump into today's topic today. Before I do that, some of you asked about getting example videos, if I could send you videos. You could just go to YouTube and just type in Willie Miranda. If you go on there, there's like 52 different videos on there. So you can get a flavor of what the videos are that we're doing. Here's our multiple offer, one that we did, but we do stuff like on 5 types of home inspections. I did one with my lender here, different things on the market update. So you can kind of get a feel for what that is. And like I said, there's like 52 different videos on there that you could check out. And again, you can always email me or hit me up on Facebook, and if you have any questions on that. All right, let's go ahead and jump in today's topic, which is the buyer presentation. And the whole thing with the buyer presentation is, and I'm going to give everyone a link at the end here, at the end of this call, where you'll be able to get a copy of the presentation. And I'll also share these conditions that I'm going to go over with the 5,000 saving guarantee and also the home buyer package. But with working with buyers, I don't understand when I talk to agents and we talk about, you know, doing a buyer presentation, getting a buyer contract signed, why a lot of them hesitate or don't want to do it. They feel, some of their answers are that they feel that they're going to lose the lead, or people don't want to work with them, or they feel, you know, they don't have to do that with any other agent, so they're not going to do it. And my response to them always is shame on you. And why I say that is because, you know, we wouldn't even imagine or think about listing a property without getting a listing agreement. Why would you work with a buyer without a buyer agreement? It's the right thing to do. You know, obviously we have to disclose to them if we're going to work with them as a buyer agent, that we have to have them sign, you know, the New York State disclosures, and also we have them sign an agreement so that we're paid at time of closing. But the other thing is that you don't want to work with someone, you know, showing them 10, 15, 20, 30 houses, and then have them go buy a for sale by owner, or worse yet, go buy another listing that they saw at an open house and call you up on Monday and saying, hey, thanks for helping us out, but we found a house and thanks for all your time. You need to get paid. We're not paid until the house closes. And it's very important that you work as a professional. And we will not work with a buyer unless they have a buyer contract signed. So I'm going to show you kind of how we do that, how we transition over to that using our our buyer presentation. And I'm also going to go over with you, a quick fact sheet here that we use for that in order to actually sit down with the prospect and get that information so that we're getting the right information from them right from the beginning. But with that, I just want to let me just find this real quick. And I just want to make sure I have the buyer presentation, which I thought I had here. And let me pull that up because that's going to be very important to my presentation. Here we go. Pop that in here. Okay. All right, let me unpause this. Here we go. So let's start off with the whole scenarios, working with buyers. So let's say you meet with a buyer at an open house, or you meet with a buyer at a buyer seminar that you're doing, or most of us are picking up buyers through sign calls on our listings, or just off the internet. Maybe it's Commissions Inc., maybe it's Bold Leads now, maybe it's Market Leader. The list goes on and on. Maybe it's a Zillow lead, right, that you're dealing with and working with. We definitely want to take the time to meet with them and sit down with them and explain the home buying process. And even if they, or purchase homes, or you feel, hey, they don't need that information, we want to sit down with them because the goal is we want to get them signed to a contract to really get them committed to working with us so we can move forward. So one of the things that we do, I have this buyer profile sheet that, so I'll give you an example. Yesterday I had one with a buyer that actually came to us through the internet, and I had him come into the office, sat down with him. This is the exact buyer profile sheet that I use going over information with them. And sitting down with them and just really getting information, taking control of that interview and letting them know that, hey, really appreciate you for coming in. I know you want to buy a home. These people had already went to a lender and they didn't have a pre-approval yet, but they were going to have their pre-approval hopefully within a day or two. Credit was really good. Everything was really good, but they wanted to get it processed through underwriting on a VA loan. So we sat down and just pretty much had as much of this stuff filled out beforehand. So when they came in, I already had like their address and email and all that stuff that I had already filled out, and just started going through some of the questions. And really what I want to do is really establish their motivation, for buying a home and what's really important to them, because I don't want to go showing them 25, 30 homes. I really want to narrow it down to what they're really looking for. And the question I said to them, like, if you had that magic wand and you can just blink in your perfect house, what would it look like, right? What's important to you? So we just kind of go through it. I'm not going to go through every one of these questions, but basically some of them on here is that, what makes you comfortable in your current home that you're living in? Is there anything particular you'd like to duplicate? Why is that important to you? Why are you looking for a new home? Do you have children? Do you entertain a lot? Those type of things. Kind of get them thinking about certain things, right? If they're only looking for a 2-bedroom, are they really, in need of a 3-bedroom or more? We talk about pets. These people had a dog, so they wanted a big backyard. Was important to them yesterday. So the list goes on and on. There's my magic question. If you can wave that magic wand, what would the perfect home be? And we talk a little bit about service, right? What are your expectations? Describe what excellent customer service means to you. Then from there, we'll go into area criteria, what they're looking for as far as area of interest, price range. Do they currently rent or own? These people actually rent. They're renting at $1,700 a month, which is ridiculous, but that's what they're spending in rent. And then we just go through their needs and wants, right? So I filled out, all their different wants. Basically, but then I narrow it down to really needs. So I'll give you an example, like they wanted 3 bedrooms, they wanted 2 full baths, they definitely wanted a garage, or they wanted a basement, because right now where they were was on slab. We went on and on. So what I ended up doing is really narrowing it down to 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths. I didn't worry about the actual garage or the basement, because I told them, if it had a full basement but didn't have a garage, but you could build a garage, would that be something that would be acceptable to you? And they said, absolutely. So I didn't want to put garage as a criteria, because I might be missing out on a good opportunity with a home without a garage. And with the inventory being short, I didn't want, I wanted to get the maximum that I can get, but the 3-bedroom was definitely a non-negotiable, and the 2 bathrooms was definitely non-negotiable. So I kept those in there. So you want to get their needs and their wants down and really write it out side by side. The other thing that they wanted style-wise is that they definitely did not want a raised ranch. They would take a look at any other home, no condos, no townhouses, no raised ranches. And then after that, just kind of went into different areas, different streets that they liked maybe. School district was very important to them. We talked about where they worked, locations, what was convenient for them, those type of things. And then I had some additional notes. But point is that by just using this quick, easy form and having some of this stuff even before the appointment, so sometimes when you're booking the appointment the day before or the week before, you can go through and fill some of this stuff out. And it's really easy to use. So I definitely recommend using a buyer profile versus trying to just wing it, from the top of your, from the top of your head and hoping to get everything, or worse yet, having to call them back, later in the day for information such as, their email address or, their current mailing address, that type of stuff. You should have all that stuff in the beginning here, and definitely put it back into your CRM. We put it in Top Producer, and then we have a plan that we send out. We send it out, follow up with a personal note, and the list goes on and on. But for today's purposes, I just wanted to show you that buyer profile sheet, and again, be more than happy to share a copy of that with you. At the end of this call, I'll give you an email to, and we'll send you a link with all this information. The second thing is we have a home buyer package, and this is something that I've had for many years. We use this at buyer seminars. We've used this to really educate the buyer on the home buying process. So hopefully this is going to open for me. I don't know why I'm having issues with stuff today, but let me see here. Okay, there we go. So there's a home buyer package in a Word document, so you guys could change this very easily, but just talks about some of the advantages of working with us, talks about what we can offer to them as far as knowing the neighborhood and being able to work with them, show them a little bit about our team. But this is the page that I usually show because I'm going to show you my listing presentation in a minute that I actually do on a PowerPoint or on my iPad. But if you didn't have a PowerPoint and iPad and you were at a home buyer seminar or an open house or something like that, and you just wanted to really just bring home the home buying process, this is a great sheet for it. And it really just kind of start to finish. A lot of you on this call have probably seen something like this before, but a lot of buyers, like the buyers yesterday when I went over this, were just very, they just felt better, right? They just felt they made the right decision by coming to meet with me so that they can really understand the home buying process a lot better than what they thought in their mind, right? They thought they'd just go out and find a house. Once they found a house, then they would go to the bank and go to the bank and get a loan, and it's actually the opposite. So we're going to go over that in a second in my presentation. But I walked them through from initial interview today. You're going through the mortgage company, they're pulling your credit report, verifying your unemployment and all the documents that you gave to them. We're going to get a pre-approval. Once we get that pre-approval, we're going to go ahead and put you in our VIP buyer service, send you a list of homes, and we're going to start showing you properties. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and collect that deposit check, put that offer in, negotiate that offer for you, and then once it's accepted, we're going to move you through the process of getting the inspections approved, getting that appraisal order through the bank, getting the title done, getting all the closing docs and paperwork together, which your attorney will do, and then we'll go to the closing, and then from there, you're going to get the home. And usually this process takes anywhere between, depending on what type of loan you're getting, anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it could be less, depending if it's a cash buyer or not. But for the most part, 6 to 8 weeks usually works good. And they really, really love looking at this information, and they'll ask a lot of questions throughout the process when you're going through this. But again, I'm not going to go through every one of these things, but it talks about pre-approval. It talks about the items needed for a credit application. We talk about buyer agency, the difference between a seller and a buyer agent, what they can do versus what a seller can do, a seller agent can do. What to do when they see a house that they like. Obviously, we want them calling us with the MLS number. We talk about new construction homes and the advantages and disadvantages of that. We talk about for sale by owners, how we can help them with that as well. Who pays the commission, which is very important. And this is a slide that's very important because we want them to understand that by using us, they don't have to pay a fee normally if it's listed with an agent. that's on the multiple listing because of a cooperative broker fee that they're paying back. But I also get into it with a for sale by owner. If it is a for sale by owner, the reason why they went for sale by owner, and I asked them, and they answered the question great yesterday. I said, why do you think they went for sale by owner? And she said, the commissions. I said, exactly. I said, more than likely, the FSBO or the for sale by owner did not want to pay 6 or 7% for a listing to list their home with an agent. But the second reason is because a lot of times they didn't really like the price that the agent gave them. So most of the for sale by owners that are out there are overpriced. So here's how it would work, and I just tell them, allow me to go in and negotiate with that for sale by owner. And usually what happens, the conversation is I'll negotiate a better price for them because I'll show the for sale by owner why they're overpriced, why your offer is good based on the comparables that I pick up. But then instead of having that for sale by owner pay that 6 or 7% commission, they're more than willing to pay me, my commission of 2.5 or 3% versus paying, say, a 6 or 7% that they would have to list their house for. So the agent gets, or not the agent, but the buyer does definitely understand that. It makes sense to them, and we move forward and having them sign and really preparing them to sign our contract or our buyer agreement moving forward. It goes into a little bit about our investment. I let them know, like, preparing for this initial interview is a half hour, going through all these different things that we do. Like these values are really ridiculous. We should probably change these, but we just kind of point out to them that these are all the different things that we do, and we're paid at the end by the commission that we make. So all the risk is on us. We're going to spend all our time and energy finding your home, and this is why it's important for us to have this contract signed. Talk about the mutual agreement, talk about 7 reasons to buy a home, and the list goes on and on. So basically that's how we, and this is the actual documents, a 16-page document that we give when working open houses, when working home buyer seminars, and actually working with buyers. So it's a packet that we give them in one of our Miranda Real Estate folders. Okay, so hopefully you guys like that and be able to use that. All right, let's just go ahead and jump into our VIP buyer presentation here, and hopefully you can see it. But basically this is the screen that was up in my my conference room, had this up on the big TV, and we just pretty much started from here. And the first conversation that we started with is, why are you buying your landlord's house when you could be buying your own? And she agreed, and that's why they were there. And actually it's funny because I asked how much their rent was a month, and they told me $1,700. So in our area, rents between $600 to $1,500 are pretty much the norm. So $1,700 was definitely off the charts. But so we had that conversation, and she already knew. I mean, she knew the math right away, and she just says, we're just paying way too much money, and we need to get out of this house and buy a home. Their lease is coming up in a couple months, and they want to definitely buy a home. So it's a perfect buyer, motivated buyer that wants to get out of paying rent. But if normally, like if you're doing a buyer presentation at a seminar, or you're working, one-on-one with a buyer client or potential buyer client, I always just pop in here and I said, all right, you're paying $1,000 a month. How long have you been renting? Well, I've been renting for about 5 years. And I just go across on the chart and I said, okay, well, that's about $60,000 that you've paid so far in rent. That could have been, equity, or a portion of that could have been equity in your home that you could have built, but instead it went to your landlord's equity. How do you feel about that? And it really kind of gets them and educates them a little bit about how much they're actually spending, how much could they have put back into their own equity in their own home. So from there, we just kind of get into the whole, let Miranda Real Estate Group show you a better way. And we explain to them right off the rip the types of agencies that are out there. And there's really 2 types of agencies. The first one is a seller agency, where the agent represents the seller and really owes that fiduciary duty to the seller only. And then a buyer agency, which is where the agent represents the buyer and owes fiduciary responsibilities to that buyer only. And this is where I tell them at this point, I tell them this is exactly what I'll be doing for you should we move forward or agree to work together, because that's the only way I would work with a buyer is as a buyer agent. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of benefits when you have us represent you as a buyer agent. And let me just show you the difference between the two, Mr. buyer, Mrs. Buyer. And I just talk to them and I give them examples, right? You're driving down the street and you see a home that's listed by XYZ Realty. Well, XYZ Realty represents the seller. And like I said before, their job is to get top dollar for that seller and to sell it, obviously in the least amount of time and represent the seller's best interest at all times. And the seller, the seller agent can arrange property showing, so you can call them. They'll be more than happy to show you the property. They can assist you with finance or refer you to one of their lenders. They can provide you with property data, so they can give you all types of information on the property. They can explain forms and agreements and all that stuff. And they can monitor your closing, right? Make sure your inspections are set, make sure the appraisals are done when they need to be. They could do all of these different things as a buyer agent can as well. But the important factor here is on the next screen is that here are all the things and the benefits of a buyer agency. Did you know that only buyer agents can do the following? And then I just start ripping these off, right? We protect the buyer's interests at all times. And we advise or disclose to the buyer as to all matters, even if it means pointing out reasons not to buy the home. Seller can't do that, right? So a seller can't see some mold down in the basement and point it out to you and say, hey, by the way, there's some mold here. We might want to go back to the seller, or we might get that inspection done, and maybe we can get a credit from the seller. It's not going to happen if you're working with a seller agent. But as a buyer agent, I could disclose those type of things to you, again, even if it means you're not buying that home. The other thing that we do is we prepare a property value study, or what we call a cost market analysis for buyers. And basically what that means, like if you're looking for a 3-bedroom ranch, and we find a perfect 3-bedroom ranch that you really love, and now what we do is we say, okay, great, the seller is not going to go and show you, 3 or 4 other ranches that sold in the area for a lesser price, because obviously their job is to get the top dollar for their seller. So what they're going to really encourage you is even show you comparables that might be higher to justify what they listed this property for. But as a buyer client, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to represent you and really show you what other properties and other ranches have sold for in the last 3 or 6 months, go through, take a look at all the photos online, and really try to negotiate and come up with a fair offer that would make sense to you on buying that and getting the best deal on that property. And I give them examples. I had some buyers that I've saved $50,000 off the list price. They went in, they were willing to pay full price, but after I went and did a cost market analysis, I was able to negotiate a certain, amount off the list price. Now 50 was the extreme, but on average, 10 or 15,000 is not, definitely not out of the, out of the norm of us being able to save a buyer on our listing. Structure offers to promote and protect the buyers only. So if they're, need to close at a certain time, or, there's certain things that they need to structure, maybe a seller concession or something like that, we're going to help them with that. We're going to keep the buyer's financial capabilities to themselves and their thoughts and willingness to pay more for the property strictly confidential, right? So if you go in there and you say, wow, this house is worth, I don't know, say $300,000, and I'd love to give them an offer of $280,000, but I'll pay full price. Like if you tell a seller agent that, they're going to go right to the seller and say, listen, they want to offer, $280,000, but they're willing to pay $300,000, and they're approved for $300,000. So let's stay firm and, just really keep pushing the $300,000. They'll pay it. We're able to, keep that confidential and really use that to help us bargain and get a better price for you. Represent the buyer on MLS properties, but also foreclosure, bank foreclosures, auctions, for sale by owners, contractor bill sale properties, but also expired listings, right? We go back and look at properties over the last 36 months that have expired and go back to them if we can't find the property that they're looking for to see if those owners are still willing to sell their property if they haven't sold yet. Here's a big one: negotiate home inspection, repairs, and making sure that we can get them in to that property when their lease comes up, right? Like she said, I'm paying $1,700 a month and my lease is not coming up for a while. How am I going to get around that, and how am I going to get that done? Well, let us negotiate that, and maybe I can get the seller to kick in and pay your, the penalty that you'll have to pay on your lease if you got out of it early, or maybe we can close early on the property and have them rent it back from us. There's a lot of different options that we can do, but the point is that we're going to really help them negotiate in the buyer's favor. And then the last one, obviously, represent the buyer only. So, you know, when you're going through this and you're talking to the buyer, and think about it, why would they ever, you know, go to the seller directly or the seller agent directly? After looking at this and pointing it all out, at this point is when I usually say, so after looking at all this, Mr. Buyer, you can see why I only work as a buyer client when representing my buyers. And they say, oh yeah, absolutely. Right, so we're already getting that nod and that agreement that they definitely want to work with us as a buyer client. And then we go through, as your VIP buyer agent, our team is going to help you secure the best financing at the lowest rate and terms for you. We let them know, you know, we're going to find you the best home. We're going to get out there and really scrub the MLS, but also for sale by owners and all the other places for us to get listings for you, negotiate the best price, and meet all of your home buying needs with the least amount of hassles. So 3 key benefits, and we get into the step 1, right? Pre-approval. So this buyer last night was already approved. So we talk about, you know, we're going to know exactly what you can afford. So let's just say they weren't approved yet and we're sitting down with them for the first time. I want to point out the fact to them, especially when we're doing buyer seminars, that you got to get this piece out of the way first. I don't want you looking above or below your means when looking for a property. In other words, it's not going to do any good if we're out there looking at houses that are $250,000 and you're not finding what you like, but you can afford $350,000, right? If you can afford $350,000, and you know that's, you know, you're going to be comfortable with the payment and everything else after getting the information. Let's go start looking at that versus looking at properties that are below your means. On the other flip side of that, I don't want to be looking at, you know, $400,000 houses when you're only approved at 300. So we want to make sure that we get that out of the way first so we can start looking. But by doing that early, we're going to get better financing for you, get the lowest rate, get the right program for you, and we're going to, you know, obviously select and take a look at different lenders as well to get you the best pricing on that. And as a result of that, you're going to be able to make a stronger offer and beat out other buyers that maybe haven't been pre-approved. And you know, we just kind of go through the basics of what they have to do about getting their paperwork, their financial information, and then they're pre-approved. We explained to them the 2 different offers. So if you had, you know, a $250,000 house, you have buyer A that's not approved, but buyer B is you and you are pre-approved, both making the same offer. Buyer A is condition on getting financing with no loan approval, but we have an actual pre-approval letter. It's like going in there with cash, right? And financing is guaranteed by the lender, where this one here is going to be a lot more uncertainties because even I've seen some of these come in a little higher. If there's no pre-approval, I've seen a lot of sellers take more of someone that's pre-approved already and ready to go versus someone that's not. So the question is, which one of these do you think the seller will accept? Now, to us as real estate agents, like going through this may seem very basic, but I'm telling you, there's total not, you know, their heads are nodding throughout this whole presentation because it just makes sense to them, and they really appreciate knowing why the steps are the way they are. And having a system and having a plan is who they want to work with. So then I go into number 2, our VIP homebuyer service. Now, once we know exactly what you're looking for, we're going to go ahead and put you into our VIP homebuyer service. How it works is that you're going to tell us exactly what you're looking for. We just went over the whole buyer profile, and by going over all that information, I'm pretty comfortable of what you're looking for and what area you're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and enter that information into our powerful computer search program, which is basically our MLS. And we're going to send you regular email updates based on those properties that meet your criteria. So I'm not going to send you 2-bedroom homes when you need to have a 3-bedroom or more. I'm not going to send you stuff in a certain school district that you didn't like just because the price is lower. I'm going to send you what you're looking for. And the other thing is that number 4, I'm going to send you those properties that you're looking for that you want, and make sure that you're getting all of the homes that are available. And how most agents and most realtors pick out houses that, they'll do a random search. They'll pick 6 or 8 homes because somewhere in our real estate training we were told that you can't show buyers more than 6 or 8 homes, because if you do that, it's going to confuse the buyer, and a confused buyer does nothing, which is false. But I guess there's some truth to that. But what we're going to do, if there's 30 homes that are available, I'd rather give you all 30 homes so that you could take a look at the photos, look at the inside photos on the MLS, and then actually go by and do drive-bys of those properties. And then you're the one that's, going to pick them. not the agent. So you don't want the wrong person deciding which house that you get to see. We're going to let you see all of them. And we put you in control, which allows you to pick out the homes that you want. You can get to choose when you want to see them and drive by at your leisure. Get all the information that you're going to get all the information that we see as real estate agents, such as what the owner paid for it in the past, all the MLS data, all the photos, all that information you're going to get. And all you have to do is tell us which properties that you're interested in, and we'll go ahead and range for all those properties. So you only have to call one agent. You don't have to go, looking on Zillow and calling 10 different agents. You just call me and I'm going to be able to get you into all the different properties. So then step 3, we talk about our team and, all the different training that we do, our knowledge on zoning, new construction, investment properties. And we just really put on there that, we attend outside and inside training continuously. We have to get our continuing ed. We go to seminars, you name it. We have the latest technology on here. So we want them to feel good that they're dealing with someone that's on top of technology, will communicate with them when needed, and is going to be able to negotiate and really know what they're doing. And that's really important. And we also want to make sure that, just again, restating on here that we're going to really try to do the best job we can for them to get the lowest price with the best terms. And we're going to negotiate on their behalf in their favor and not the seller's favor. And do the best job, right? Closing a transaction with the least amount of hassles to you. And one of the things I always bring up to them is I tell them, last year, over 70% of our business came from referrals. I want to make sure that I'm doing a great job for you because I want to get referrals in the future. And the only way I'm going to do that is by doing a really good job for you so that you can brag to us, to your family and friends. All right, and then we just go over kind of the 6 VIP buyer benefits. I'm not going to read all these. It's pretty much just a recap of what we talked about. But we do have on there number 5, I wanted to point out, that they do get a written cancellation guarantee that allows them to cancel if we don't live up to our promises. Most agents, you're pretty much locked in. It's a risk that they take. But basically, we want to sign them up so we can represent them as a buyer client. We're going to do a great job for them. They're going to get priority access to all homes on the market. And again, they get our team and everything else. And they're going to get listings before the average buyer knows about them. And why I bring that up, because a lot of times with Zillow and some of these other search engines that are out there, I explain to them, once we take a listing, say in our company, we put it into multiple listing service, then the Zillow or some of these outside sources, either once a day or every other day, they're all different, will come in and actually scrape through our listings and update their database. So you're not getting them timely. You may get them sometimes a day, 2 days, sometimes I've seen up to 3 days, 72 hours later before you're even getting this information. With our VIP buyer service, you're going to get these listings as soon as they hit the market. So as soon as that goes onto the MLS, it's going to hit the MLS, and we're going to go ahead and send you those properties in your email inbox right away so that you're able to take a look at these properties, get out there and do a drive-by, because in a hot market like we're in, we want to make sure that you're getting these properties very quickly so that we don't lose out on the perfect home. And people understand that and they want that. And the people last night when I asked them, how are you looking for homes now? They're like on 10 different websites and they're just confused and aggravated. And a couple ones that they've called on have been sold and they said active on the line, online. So it just verified what I was speaking to them about here. So, again, I just recap. If you see a house that you like, feel free to call for the info, but always tell the agent that you're working with us. This will prevent you from being hounded by other agents with questions and sales pitches, especially if you're going to open houses. Get the price, get the information. If you can get the MLS number, great, and we'll send you all the information just by calling our office. And if you see a house that you want to look at, always call us for appointments. And so that's basically how I end it. And from there is where I transition over to the actual buyer agreement. So basically, I ask them if they have any questions on our buyer presentation. And I'll say, after looking at this, I would assume that you'd rather work with me as a buyer agent than a seller agent. Is that correct, Mr. Buyer? And 99.9% of the time, like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, here's the forms that I need for New York State. It's a disclosure form saying that I explained to you the difference between a buyer agency and a seller agency. Please initial and sign here. And then here's our agreement so that you understand that I'm paid directly by the seller if it's listed on the MLS, and if it's not, is listed, for sale by owner, then here that our fee is 3%, right? That's just using a number, and allow me to get my fee through that for sale by owner, like I explained before. So I go ahead and fill it out. A lot of the information you want filled out prior to the appointment, so it's already done. I tell them where they initial. I go ahead and sign, right, my spots, and I just give them the forms, and I say, okay, great. Go ahead and read this over, sign it. I'll give you a copy when we're done, and then I'm going to go ahead and pop out into the other room, get you on that VIP, put this into our computer so we can get this stuff sent to you. And when I come back, 99% of the time, that contract's already signed and they're ready to go. And I'll print out a quick list of homes for them just with the street address and like a one-line summary so they can get something that they can actually walk out the door with. The 1% of the time that it's not signed, it's usually because they have a question, and the question may come up, geez, this doesn't sound fair. If it's a for sale by owner and I find it on my own, I still have to pay you. And then I just go through and I explain to them that, yeah, that's true, but if I showed you 20 or 30 homes like I mentioned before, allow me to go ahead and have the seller pay me a commission. Rest assured that I will never let my commission get in the way of you getting this home, but it's very important that I have this here in order to represent you as a buyer client, because 9 out of 10 times, Mr. Buyer, I'm going to be able to get the seller to go ahead and pay that. But let me explain to you what would happen if and there's 3 ways that we can pay that 3% fee. The first way is you can cut me a check, right? So if it's a $200,000 home, you cut me a check for $6,000 for my services, and we could pay it that way. But normally what happens, Mr. Buyer, is that the seller is willing to pay for that. So we'll go ahead and write it for $200,000 with a one-time showing agreement that the seller pays me $6,000, and they'll pay it. In worst case scenario, if they don't want to pay it, we could work it into the deal. So what I mean by that is that we could write the offer for $206,000, have the seller give us a concession for $6,000 to take care of this fee, and you can wrap it into your mortgage, which is really not that expensive from a monthly payment perspective, and there's no out-of-pocket costs on your side. But that would be the worst case scenario. And once I explain that to them, they say, okay, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and move forward. The other time I'll get people that'll say, I want to talk to my brother-in-law, or I want to talk to my attorney before I sign anything. And I just let them know that's fine, especially for those high C personality types. So I just let them know that, we do have a cancellation guarantee. I show them that in writing. So in essence, it's a day-to-day contract. It's not a long 6-month contract. But if you want me to work with as a buyer, I need you to have this signed. And once they see that cancellation guarantee, and I only use that at the end if I need it, that 1% of the time, but once they see that cancellation guarantee, they're usually fine with it and they move forward. So very important that you use that when needed, but not to just take that out for the heck of it. All right, I am way over on time, and I apologize. I think we're definitely over on time. So I'm going to defer questions, and I'll make sure I'll get back to each and every one of you with any questions that you may have. But if you want to send your questions, or if you want a copy of the slides, please email Trish, my assistant, at tlaux, so it's TLOUX, at mrgteam.com. Again, that's tlaux at mrgteam.com, and she'll be more than happy to go ahead and send those slides to you so that you have them, and make sure that you can copy and take all that information that I showed you on that on those sheets. So you'll get the buyer profile, the VIP buyer presentation, the home buyer packet, and these two we didn't get into. It's just an example of the $5,000 price guarantee. This is something that one of my agents here prepared, $5,000 price saving guarantee. So this is something that you can also, we talk about unique selling propositions. Why go with you versus any other agent out there? Well, because I guarantee that I'm going to save you $5,000 off the list price, or I'll give you $500 cash for my commission. And totally legal, totally negotiable, and she has the actual conditions right here. If you see here on the bottom, the house is listed at $199,000 or below, it's only $250. $200 to $500 is $500, and if it's over $500,000, it's a $1,000 guarantee. So all the conditions are here, and you're more than welcome to use this for your own benefit. All right, so with that, thank you so much for being on today's call. Have a great weekend, and again, tlaux at mrgteam.com. with your questions and if you'd like a copy of this presentation. With that, have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.